Hello, everyone. Welcome to another dispatch. It is a Sunday afternoon. It's a late Sunday afternoon. It's not that late, but it's dark, right? So early. Anyway, a couple more days, 2 or 3 more days to the new year. The end or the last year of the first quarter of the 21st century. It's all happening, right? Isn't that the line? It's all happening. Okay, so here we are. Right. I am going to carry on. This is the last installment of The Work of Art by Adam Moss from his introduction. Okay, without further ado, I suppose I could keep meandering, but maybe we'll get into it. Okay. So, the last little section. So, no meaning, no magic, just the work of it, the work of art. As I'm writing this, I find myself constantly tempted to use the word miracle to describe the wonderful thing that art is. It's such a ready description, a hardwired cliche. But I resist because I am trying to describe art making to mean its exact opposite. The urge to invest creation with mysticism is almost as old as humankind. In her TED talk on the subject, Elizabeth Gilbert speaks about how in ancient Greece and Rome, people believed that creativity was this divine attendant spirit that came to human beings from some distant and unknowable source for distant and unknowable reasons. I kind of agree with that. I gotta say, I think it is a bit of a miracle and kind of mystical. And I mean, there is work to be done for sure, but all right, I'll parenthesize myself. Plato wrote about the madness of those who are possessed by the muses. And when he receives the inspired word, either his intelligence is enthralled in sleep or he is demented by some distemper or possession. That's how it went. Creativity came from without, consumed the artist in a trance. The work just appeared. Well, I would say it a little differently. It doesn't come from without. All right. As legend has it, that all ended with the Age of Reason and eventually Freud. Yeah, I'm reading this really good book, actually. I think I told you about it. I think I did. The Master and His Emissary, about the divided brain and the making of the Western world. It's really very good. And it really speaks a lot to what he's talking about here, actually. Oh, well, I'll keep going. As legend has it, that all ended with the Age of Reason and eventually Freud. People got wise to the idea of internal forces, to the subconscious. The spiritual hogwash was banished. Except it wasn't. The preoccupation with the mystical is stubborn. A tiny sampling. The artist's mind is a copy of the divine mind, said Leonardo da Vinci during the Renaissance. Jump ahead. Art is a collaboration between God and the artist, and the less the artist does, the better, said Andre Gide 400 odd years later. Then, how does a person create a song? Asked Joni Mitchell. A lot of it is being in touch with the miraculous. The muse has got to be there. You throw a question up to the muse and maybe they drop something back on you. A song by Tupac Shakur goes like this. If I upset you, don't stress, never forget that God isn't finished with me yet. I feel his hand on my brain. When I write rhymes, I go blind and let the Lord do his thing. Even artists less inclined to view the process in supernatural terms still grapple with an essential mystery. There are a few things I've written that I'm really proud of, Tony Kushner told me when I was talking to him for this book. And I always think, where did that come from? How did that happen? Many artists don't dare wonder, or at the very least, want to talk about it. This is deliberate. As Joan Didion noted, whether they are painters or photographers or composers or choreographers, or for that matter, writers, people whose work it is to make something out of nothing do not much like to talk about what they do or how they do it. Superstition prevails. This was true for her as well. In dreams, we do not analyze the action or it vanishes, she wrote. I once knew I had a novel when it presented itself to me as an oil slick with an iridescent surface. During the several years it took me to finish the novel, I mentioned the oil slick to no one, afraid the talismanic hold the image had on me would fade. The allure of this way of thinking is not difficult to appreciate. Where art comes from is mysterious. I talked to a lot of very rational artists for this book, and to the one, they went fuzzy when trying to describe a cathartic moment, as if they'd gone under anesthesia when the big idea came. It's weird. The mind is weird. And a mystical frame also happens to be functional. It satisfies the grandiosity that makes it possible to do something that hard. That's not exactly it. It gives a ready out to the struggling. It makes the whole business more glamorous. I want to be magical too, but I don't think it's really the best way to understand how an artist works. My ambition for this book is secular, to try to capture the artist's process in all its mundanity. If that sounds like a buzzkill, it isn't. It's an exploration of the human, not the godly, with its more interesting drama. My aim is to render the experience of creativity, that is, the frustration, elation, regret, first glimmers, second thoughts, distress, and triumph that lead to works of art. The thought when I began was, if I can strip creation of its romance and break it down into discrete and concrete parts, would that help me and you to see art as a product of work, a structured mental process? And in that sense, to offer a way forward. Then as I was putting the book together, Peter Jackson's documentary series on the making of the Beatles' Let It Be aired. And any number of viewers noted the shivers they felt when seeing Paul McCartney spontaneously riff the first chords to the song Get Back. Totally. It was striking because it was so rare. How often do you have a chance to witness the moment of emergence? And those few minutes in the documentary clarified my intent. If I couldn't capture such a moment in this two-dimensional form, maybe I could summon it and take it apart, rendering it less and yet more miraculous at the same time. One of my first conversations for this project was with Stephen Sondheim. He told me he had an idea for a novella. What I wanted to do, he said, was to construct an absolute stream of consciousness of how I arrive at, let's say, a given line or lyric or the birth of a rhyme. I would write every single thought that came into my head, like Molly Bloom's monologue in Ulysses. Sondheim never wrote that book, but he did write 2 books examining his own creative process. In them, he included the original pages of his lyrics written out in longhand as he was noodling with them, the alternate rhymes off to the side. The reprints of those are in the PDF. I first read those books years ago. I found myself, I should bring this closer to me, I think. Hello? I first read those books years ago. I found myself lost in his pencil scrawls, playing along with him as he went about writing his songs, comparing his rhyme choices with ones I came up with. I go back to those yellow legal pad pages all the time. Good. Should I keep going? You guys with me? A lot of reading. All right, I'll keep. Maybe this is going to be 4 installments. I mean, he's great. I just, how long do you want to sit watching a video? This book is composed of more than 40 case studies, conversations, little biographies. I asked artists to walk me through in as much detail as they could muster the evolution of a novel, a painting, a photograph, a movie, a joke, a song, and to supply physical documentation of their process as a map of their thinking or as a prompt to help them remember. In the end, I was fortunate to find an astonishingly accomplished array of creators to participate. Winners of every possible prize, though that's the least of it. I'm grateful to them for jinxing the muse and exposing themselves, engaging in a dialogue that sometimes felt, as they kept telling me, like creative therapy. The group spans genres, painters, novelists, filmmakers, songwriters, and because of my own background, I cast a wide net. You'll find some journalists in here because I am interested in the way that journalism can function as art, as well as food makers and sand castle builders. Mostly, I was interested in art making as a solo activity. In a couple of instances, I interviewed collaborators together. Some chapters touch on how creativity works in institutions. I talked to innovators of narrative forms and a critic rethinking what criticism could be. I thought an edited crossword puzzle would be cool to look at, and it was, and so I included it. It's not all art in the way we usually talk about art, but I see no particular value in purity. All right, I'm gonna, it's all good, but maybe I'll do one more later. Should I do? All right. All right. I'm going to finish this little section and then I'm going to pause and we're going to do a fourth because this is fun. I enjoy reading him. I took some of the subjects from my friend group because I love their work. I've always been mystified by what they do and thought they might feel comfortable enough to be candid, which I feared most artists here wouldn't be. I was kind of panicked at the beginning, but for the most part, my fears were unfounded. I went to many of my art crushes. Sondheim, Carl Walker, Moses Sumney, and was overjoyed when they agreed to join in. Some of the book subjects were suggested by others to fill genres I thought good to have in the book or paths that seemed helpful. I included them when I also felt struck by the work, and they often turned out to be among my favorite entries. You'll see that some of the works discussed here are famous, while others have never seen the light of day. It's an eclectic collection, all told. I hope that's a virtue. I had in mind a rolling montage sequence, one aha after another. That's not always what I got. The book's subject is becoming, where works come from, but also artists. And it pokes around at some hopeless questions I couldn't let go of. The origin of sensibility, voice, style, artistic imprint, and even of talent. So while most of the chapters chart the path of a given work, in some cases, they are more like creative Bildungsromans, exploring all kinds of artistic comings of age. At the heart of it all is the artist as protagonist and often antagonist as well, battling obstacles before victory. It's a book of happy endings. Right. what makes an artist. I'm gonna pause. There's a few more pages, but I'm gonna pause, and either I'll finish or we'll do something else next week. I am not gonna read from this. It is way too dense. I mean, it's fabulous, but it's a lot. It's thick. It's very interesting. That's it. Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing well and making things, enjoying making things. I'm enjoying making things. And yeah, okay. That's it. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.